Welcome to the Coffee Rhetoric podcast. I'm Tiffani, creator and writer of the Coffee Rhetoric blog. And, well, I'm back. And I'm back before the end of 2020. Look at that, right? Because before it only took me 2 years to record a new episode, but I'm back. And per usual, quite a bit has been unfolding in current events, and current events move pretty fast. I'm not sure if any of you have been watching the 2020 Democratic debates closely. Personally, I haven't been following this election year. However, I do plan on voting. But the state of politics has been an absolute nightmarish circus these past 3 years, and quite frankly, I'm tired. While I was very engrossed in the early stages of the pre-trial impeachment bullshit, I eventually even got tired of that, and I just really couldn't muster enough energy to care about the 2020 Democratic debates, particularly once I saw how crowded the list of candidates was. But now we're down to two candidates. I had my favorite, the operative word being had. I'm going to keep that close to my vest, but I really haven't been watching the debates. I've just been watching news clips here and there online and following the news and reading transcripts. But yeah, we're down to two Democratic candidates. I just really don't know what more to say about that because, like I said, I had my favorite candidates actually plural, but yeah, but they're no longer in the race, which is unfortunate. But anyway, whatever. I haven't been watching. I honestly just want to get this over with already, and try as I might, I'm not really feeling very hopeful this election season. I want to be hopeful, but whatever. I'm trying my best to be hopeful. I just want us to get the orange menace out of the White House and send him back to Mar-a-Lago or prison or wherever he belongs. It's hard to feel hopeful when there's so much fuck shit going on. But whatever. I'm going to vote how I'm going to vote to for the better of our current situation, and just work with what we have. So on that note, moving on, yeah, let's get into some pop culture stuff. I've been following, I'm a pop culture junkie. I follow a lot of pop culture and celebrity news, and I've kind of been following this stuff with Loni Love and Tamar Braxton closely. So let's talk about how the conflict between Loni Love and Tamar Braxton and all this bullshit with The Real got resurrected after Tamar Braxton got fired several years ago. So the conflict between Loni Love and Tamar Braxton and The Real, and how, quite frankly, ridiculous it all has been. First and foremost, Tamar Braxton was fired from The Real in 2016. Okay? That's what, almost 4.5, 5 years ago, give or take 4 years ago. And quite honestly, Tamar Braxton spent an entire year blaming everyone but the folks with the actual power to fire her. She and her rabid fan base indicted Tamar's former co-hosts for conspiring against her to get her fired. She claimed, they've all been claiming how the show sucks without her, just what I feel was her distracting presence. Because let's be honest, love the show or hate it, The Real has received several daytime Emmy nominations, and they won one, and they've won an NAACP Image Award since Tamar's departure from the show. So quite honestly, it can't suck all that bad since it's still on. I mean, I personally don't watch it. I really can't get into daytime talk shows. I don't even like late night talk shows, to be quite honest with you. I'll watch clips on YouTube or whatever, but daytime talk shows and late night talk shows are just kind of not my thing. However, so let's get back into it. So then Tamar and her fans, after she got fired, they started targeting her former co-host, Loni Love, calling her names. They were threatening her. They were making all sorts of wild accusations. And I know when initially, after Tamar got fired, they gave Loni Love so much static because they were convinced that she was the reason Tamar got fired. They were convinced that she conspired to get Tamar fired. When Tamar got fired back in 2016, they gave Loni Love so much static, she had to temporarily make her IG private. And this is all notwithstanding the fact that Tamar has consistently displayed problematic and irascible behaviors, not only on social media, but across the reality TV landscape. Okay. She was even the center of conflict between herself and her sisters on her family's reality TV show, Braxton Family Values. And then she got into a conflict with Iyanla Van Zant, who I guess she was brought in as a mediator to help resolve whatever family conflict they were having. So now here it is, 2020, and folks are still blaming Loni Love for Tamar being gone several years later, and Loni Love is still finding herself in a position where she has to defend herself. It's basically this past year, and last year, it's kind of been like open season on Loni Love. And it seems as if she's constantly finding herself, Loni Love, is constantly finding herself in a position where she's needing to apologize for something she essentially is not responsible for, and where she's trying to somehow appeal to Tamar to let her know, hey girl, you still belong, even though you're no longer employed here, and you and your fans have been dragging me on social media since about 2016. So anyway, some weeks ago, some comic named Cookie Hall, who is reportedly a former friend of Loni's, has come out of the woodwork claiming Loni wanted Tamar gone from the show because Loni wanted to be the only quote unquote ghetto personality on the panel. No lie. And now also a former hairstylist who was on the show, I'm assuming she worked with Loni. She's also claiming that she witnessed Loni complaining about Tamar's presence on the show. Girl, bye. Where were y'all in 2016 when Tamar got fired? Now you all want to come out in 2020 resurrecting this nonsense, this old, tired news. So, and also listen, even if Loni was complaining about Tamar, who cares? Who gives a damn? We've all complained about problematic and or annoying coworkers who brought down workplace morale, or who created toxic work environments, or who just fucking got on our nerves for whatever reason. We've all done it. So even if Loni Love was talking trash about Tamar, who cares? Who cares? She still doesn't have the authority to fire or to get people fired from that show. All the complaining in the world still doesn't mean Loni had or has the power to get any of her coworkers fired. The powers that be made that decision for whatever reason. And, not for nothing, but the rumors were at the time that Tamar was also having conflict with producers and other technical folks backstage. And she wasn't jibing well with sponsors. I don't know. Though those were the rumors. And I suspect Loni had zero to do with it. We talk shit about annoying coworkers all the time. It happens. So who cares if Loni said all that about Tamar? Who gives a shit? I'm still trying to figure out why these people are coming out of the woodwork in 2020. Where were you in 2016? Tamar has been gone from the show for years now. Let it go. And some of you, let's keep it real because I've been listening. A lot of you people with your online commentaries, you will find any fucking excuse to perpetuate colorism and fat phobia and use it to play armchair psychologists. You do, because I've been watching a lot of the commentary on this nonsense, and you all love to accuse Loni Love of having internalized anti-blackness. And she might, who knows? But a lot of you all do too, because you all cannot seem to discuss Loni Love or critique Loni Love without bringing up her skin complexion or her weight. I see you. I've watched several vlogs by other black folks suggesting that Loni Love is somehow seething with jealousy for Tamar because Loni is quote unquote fat and dark skinned and unpopular. I've seen and heard you all saying this online. Really? And see, Loni mentioned being cognizant of being the largest and darkest woman among her co-hosts and how she tempers how she speaks so that she doesn't come off as an angry black woman, because she's very aware of how viewers will weaponize her size and her complexion against her if she gets too out of pocket for them, for their liking. And like clockwork, you miserable self-loathing so-and-sos could not wait to mention something about Loni being fat and dark skinned, and how she's about to gun for Amanda Seales, who replaced Tamar recently. She got to get, because for a little while they were having other celebrity guests step in as fourth. I don't know how many of them are, but they were let's see, fifth, Loni Love, Jeannie Mai, the Tamara sister, and yeah, so for a time since Tamar's departure, they had, on and off, they had celebrity co-host kind of serving as the fifth kind of special guest host on and off. And then they finally found recently, just this year, found a fifth person to permanently become the fifth co-host and replace the spot Tamar had vacated. And it's Amanda Seales. So now you all are saying, oh, Tamar, Loni loves, she's jealous of Tamar. Oh, she's so jealous because she's fat and dark skinned. Pardon me. Because she's fat and dark skinned and this and that and the third. And she's going to do to Amanda Seales what she did to Tamar. And I personally feel like Tamar has no reason. And you all are all like, oh, she owes Tamar an apology and Tamar should feel vindicated. No, the fuck she doesn't. She doesn't need to apologize for anything anymore. And I personally feel like Tamar has no reason to feel vindicated, and that Loni Love has nothing to apologize for. Tamar's and y'all's grievance should be with the folks that have the authority to fire Tamar. That's it. And these two also rans coming out of the woodwork years later to speak out against Loni are late. Bye-bye. Tamar doesn't, and to be quite honest, she doesn't seem fit for a daytime TV platform. that features other opinionated women. She doesn't. She can't seem to get on with anybody she works with on TV. Um, unless you forget, and I think it was in the early 2010s, maybe 2012, 2013. Remember Tamar was a co-host on Tamika Cottles from Escape. Tamika Tiny. We all know her as quote unquote Tiny. But Tamika Cottle had a late night talk show on VH1 called Tiny Tonight. Remember that? In the early 2010s. And remember how Tamar clashed with Claudia Jordan? Then that beef spilt over on social media as well, because Tamar shamed Claudia Jordan on air for not being married. Remember that? Have we forgotten about that? Whose fault was that? And how uh let's see. And so she clashed with Claudia Jordan, and then she was eventually placed with Tammy Roman. And then after her departure, remember how an employee got up on Twitter and tweeted to Claudia Jordan how much more peaceful the set was since Tamar left, or since she had been replaced. So who on that talk show panel was jealous of Tamar or out to get Tamar? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So, my thoughts on the situation: sometimes folks just create toxic work environments. Higher ups get tired. That's it. Leave Loni Love alone. And also, actually, speaking of Amanda Seales, as annoying as she acts on social media, I do. I think that she's a really good addition to the panel, and that she's much needed, because I just feel like a show called The Real can only skirt by so far for so long with four women of color hosts who don't seem to have the range to talk about or unpack social issues with any nuance, like social issues like racism and things of that nature. At some point it's time to actually, you gotta get real. And like I said, despite Amanda Seales's social media shenanigans, she's definitely qualified to challenge her co-hosts, to challenge them, to take them out of their comfort zones, and to challenge them to get. You're called The Real. The show's called The Real. So I feel like she's a good fit, and she's the one who can challenge them to actually get real and truly discuss social issues, like racism, like I mentioned before. And that's just that on that. So other than that, just leave Loni Love alone, because y'all are always looking for a reason, it seems, to drag an unambiguously black woman that's in the public eye for what it's like, this sick twisted game of ping pong. You're like a ping pong misogynoir. You bounce from Oprah Winfrey to Gayle King to Loni Love, and now to Megan Thee Stallion. It's like a ping pong ball. But it seems like y'all are always looking for a reason to drag a black woman. And like, for the most part, it's mostly been like Oprah and Gayle, and now it's Loni Love. Now y'all are fake outraged because Loni, granted, she discussed, she was a little awkward with how she discussed it. Yes, but the woman talked about growing up experiencing food insecurity, and how food insecurity, it is a thing in some black communities, and in some communities of color. It is a thing. No, not every black person grew up experiencing food insecurity, but the woman discussed her experiences with food insecurity, and how, and the reasons why she's become a sponsor for Weight Watchers, whatever, and y'all drag her for that. Oh, well, she's anti-black, she's this, just leave the fucking woman alone. Damn. Anyway, what else has been going on? So I recently read in the news during the month of Black History that apparently a 52-year-old black man from Iowa named Robert Noy was charged with harassment and false imprisonment because he forced what I'm assuming is a white woman to sit with him and watch the episodic miniseries Roots. Yes. Now, I don't know if dude forced her to watch the 1977 version and the 1979 and 1988 sequels, or if he forced her to watch the 2016 remake. But either way, if you've read Alex Haley's book, which this series Roots is adapted from, you know the book it's a big book. And the series Roots, it's a lot of series. It's a lot of story. It's like this sprawling look at Africans who were sold into chattel slavery, in case you haven't read it, in America. And they go kind of from the Rudy to the Tootie. It starts from Gambia in the 1700s with Kunta Kinte and Benta, and it kind of goes from there. So it's a lot of story. I mean, the book is over 700 pages long, the book itself. That's why when they adapted it into a miniseries, it took multiple parts to tell the story. Either way, I don't know. I don't know what the woman did to have old dude go all drop squad on her, or how, how they were even acquainted with each other. But she was probably sitting there for a minute under duress watching the Roots. And the victim, the woman who was forced to watch, who the guy forced to watch, she told the police that Noy threatened to kill her and spread her body parts along the interstate if she moved or tried to leave. And he said he forced her to watch Roots so she could better understand her racism. That's what they were saying in the news reports about this really strange incident. And, if you look this up, and if you look at the man's mugshot, he's grinning from ear to ear in his mugshot. Like, yeah, I did that. And, honestly, I don't really know how to unpack this situation. I really don't. I honestly don't think I've ever been this fervent about trying to convince racist white folks to understand me and to recognize my humanity as a black woman. Honestly, I just would rather they stop running for political office. If you don't like my black ass, stop doing that. I'm gonna need them to stay the hell out of my personal space. Just don't say a damn thing to me or mine. Go be racist in whatever hovel you live in and stay away from me. That's all I ever ask, because I don't think I've ever needed white validation that bad to force someone to try to not be racist. Like, I'm going to sit here and threaten you and threaten to dismember your body and spread it over the Chicago interstate if you don't sit here and watch Roots or whatever, The Color Purple, or whatever movie, so that you can understand. Because quite frankly, I just really don't care. All I ever ask racists to do, anybody that's anti-black, just stay away from me. Keep it over there where you're at. That's all I ever ask. But yeah, white approval's just really, not that important to me because I don't perform for or exist under the white gaze or any gaze. You know, I removed myself from the various oppressive, judgmental gazes years ago. White gaze, male whatever gazes. I just really, it's not that dire to me, and honestly it never has been. And let's, I just don't think Kunta Kinte or Belle or Kizzy, I don't think they would have wanted it this way. So anyway, on that note, let's take a quick break.
One step beyond.
Welcome back to the Coffee Rhetoric podcast. I am your intrepid host, Tiffani. I don't know what else has been going on in the news. Well, you know, I haven't really, I think like I mentioned before, I haven't really been paying attention to the debates and things of that nature, and the presidential debates. I've been following the news, but I haven't really been watching the debates and stuff. But I've been watching clips here and there, and just reading what's what in the news, just to stay abreast while not following as closely as I maybe did in the past, but still trying to stay abreast to see what's going on so I can be informed. And you guys, as far as the Democratic nominees go, Elizabeth Warren has dropped out. Bummer. And only 2 Democratic candidates remain. That it's a bummer. And so now we get to pick and choose from Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. And now people are kind of in their feelings because I guess Elizabeth Warren made an appearance on Saturday Night Live, and people are pressed because she hasn't officially come out in support of either Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders supporters are all in their feelings, and they're saying, oh, well, she's whack and she should do this. She needs to come out and support him. She don't got to do shit. Elizabeth Warren doesn't owe Bernie Sanders a fucking endorsement. She doesn't. She doesn't. So whether or not she comes out in support of either of the 2 old white men who are left, because let's be real, we always knew it was going to be 2 rich white men who would be the last 2 standing. Nobody wants a woman for president, and after Obama, they damn sure are not going to allow another black man to run the country, no matter how competent he is. Whether she endorses either of the 2 last remaining Democratic candidates remains to be seen, but she doesn't owe Bernie Sanders an endorsement. And that's just that on that. What I do think is interesting, I was following the news with this stuff between Public Enemy. Remember that rap group? How they officially fired Flavor Flav, hype man extraordinaire, Flavor Flav. Sorry, I just had to get that out. But Chuck D and Public Enemy officially fired Flavor Flav because he did not appreciate Chuck D and the group performing at a Bernie Sanders event. I'm guessing he's not a fan of Bernie Sanders. Didn't Flavor Flav at one point, shortly after he got elected to office, didn't he at one point stump for Trump or some bullshit? He said something in support of Trump. But anyway, I guess Flav did not. I don't know if he tried to send a cease and desist or if he tried to take some kind of legal action. I don't remember. But I do know there is some conflict because Public Enemy performed at a Bernie Sanders event and he was very publicly not cool with that. And so he was officially fired from Public Enemy. I'm sure they can find another hype man elsewhere. And let's be real, I think Flavor Flav and Public Enemy, or at least Flavor Flav and Chuck D, they've been beefing with each other and at each other's throat for a hot minute. So this is not anything new. I'm guessing this was the straw that broke the camel's back. But what I will say is all the shucking and jiving Flavor Flav has been doing over the years with the reality show and the shit with Brigitte Nielsen and then him stumping for Trump. I, I'm just going to say this and leave it alone. I do think it's interesting how him coming out against Bernie Sanders, I do think it's interesting that that's the straw that broke the camel's back. That was the last straw, especially when you consider all of the other kind of clownish, humiliating stuff he's been doing to remain in the public eye and bring down the integrity of Public Enemy's brand. That him coming out against some old rich white man was what the last straw was. That's interesting. I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. But anyway, another thing that's been a hot topic is rapper Megan the Stallion. She's having some conflict with her record label. And it's funny how people just kind of just fucking hate women because, she's been having some conflict with her record company. I guess she wanted to renegotiate, and it's an indie label, 1501 Entertainment. And I guess, Megan the Stallion is signed to this indie record label, 1501 Entertainment, which I guess co-owned at least co-owned by some athlete. I think he's a professional baseball player, named Carl Crawford, who knows fuck all about the record industry, but he started this label, and Megan the Stallion is their cash cow. She is. She's their cash cow. She's their meal ticket. She's the one making them money. And shortly after Megan the Stallion she's been kind of grinding for a hot minute. And so shortly after she was signed, her mother passed away and all that. But anyway, I'm not going to get into all that. But it just is all this stuff going on with Megan Thee Stallion and her record label 1501 Entertainment. So as Megan Thee Stallion's star rose, she caught the eye, and she's from Texas. She caught the eye of Jay-Z's Rock Nation corporation. Because let's be real, that's what it is. I was going to say label, but that's a fucking corporation. But she caught the eye of Rock Label, and as her star rose, she signed, Rock Nation signed on as her management. That's a huge deal because when you've got that kind of power behind you, it can open the doors for other opportunities. So she signed to this indie label, as this indie record label, but Rock Nation is managing her career. So I guess I'm assuming now that she's got Rock Nation money and brass behind her, I'm assuming some people at Rock Nation finally sat down and looked over her record contract with 1501 Entertainment and probably figured you're not getting all you can get out of this deal. You're kind of getting the short end of the stick. So I guess they prompted Megan the Stallion to go back to her record label to renegotiate the terms of her contract. And then all hell broke loose. They were trying to stop her from releasing new music, all kinds of stuff. And so I guess she went and got temporary restraining order against her record label, and she was able to that would allow her to release her EP, her latest EP on time as scheduled. It's just a lot going on. I think that she sue them. I don't know what all is going on, but another person who's bought into the record label is a reported street dude, some kind of notorious kind of Suge Knight type person, and who's infamous in the Houston, Texas area. Um, Jay Prince, everybody's weighing in, but my whole thing is the thing that irritates me the most about this is all of a sudden, everybody is hopping on Twitter like they graduated from a Twitter law school, because all of a sudden people don't even know, don't even read the fine print on these third-party apps, and don't even read their employee handbooks, or know what the labor laws are at their 9 to 5, or they don't know what rights they have at their everyday job. But suddenly they're hopping on social media, presuming to think they can tell Megan what's what. Oh, she's stupid. She's this. She's that. Oh, she's in college. She should have known better before she signed that deal, and this, that, and the third. Whatever. I feel like it doesn't matter what kind of deal she has. Everybody's weighing in, and they're saying, oh, well, actually, her deal with her record label wasn't that bad, and this, that, and the third. But it did kind of seem like at the end of the day, good, bad, middle ground. She still, the record label still, it seems like from what I read, was getting the lion's share of what was being made. And I think she's like their sole act, and she is their meal ticket and their cash cow. And nobody's questioning the fact that Carl Crawford doesn't have any experience with the oh god, I just lost my train of thought. But nobody's questioning the fact that Carl Crawford doesn't have any experience as a record label owner. He doesn't know the business. But everybody's questioning Megan. Oh, well, she should have known what she was doing. Isn't she supposed to be a college girl? This, that, and the third. All of a sudden, everybody's an armchair entertainment attorney. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether her deal, quote unquote, wasn't that bad. Let's stop acting like record labels and executives and the record industry hasn't historically preyed on musical acts, especially black artists, especially young women, especially women. You know, you go as far back as the 40s and stuff. Record labels have been screwing their artists over for decades. So let's stop acting like record labels haven't always historically been shisty. So that they could, and screwing their artists out of money and royalties and ownership of their masters. I mean, Taylor Swift has been going through the same shit as well this past year. So I just feel like, she has a right to try to stay one step ahead of her label, because they do. Record labels prey on hungry young artists who are hungry for success and who want to make it and who want to be able to make music and be rich and make a living at what they love, and they prey on that. 1 minute y'all cheering on Mace. Remember the rapper Mace, how he called out P. Diddy for how he's done his artists in the past. Like, y'all were just cheering him on when he called on P. Diddy. So now you all want to come down on Megan Thee Stallion and be like, oh, she's stupid, she's this, she's that. Like I said, and most of y'all don't even know what y'all job rights are at your fucking 9 to 5 jobs, but you presume to think you can condescend and tell Megan Thee Stallion what she should have been doing. Like you all have law degrees. in entertainment law. I just look at it as, hey, she's trying to stay one step ahead of the label and label politics. She's got people behind her saying, you do realize you could be getting better. So that's what she's doing. That's what she did. That's what she's doing. And, she's got the resources now to be able to do that. And again, look, research your record label history. Record labels have historically shat all over artists, and they've, especially black artists. And then, a lot of the, especially now in the rap industry, a lot of young rappers and shit, always get the raw end of the deal. That's why you don't hear from them again. All of the young artists and rappers and singers I grew up listening to, they have a couple of really great hits from like the 90s and the early aughts, and it's like you don't fucking hear from them again. And then like a decade later you watch these kind of serial documentaries, what happened, where are they now, kind of serial music documentaries, and then you hear about, oh, well, they got screwed over by their record label. So it's like, let the chick do her thing. It seems like she's got a powerful machine behind her as far as her management team goes. But it's like, y'all are acting like record labels are innocent or aren't dodgy with how they treat their artists. So, that's just that on that. That's my feeling on that. Y'all don't know what you're talking about. Let the girl do her. Oh, another thing I wanted to tell you all about. So y'all, like I mentioned in my last podcast episode, I told y'all I stay on YouTube. At this point, I think I might watch YouTube videos from every sector more than I stream movies or watch TV. I do. I stay on YouTube. And, folks on that platform, they stay with the drama. It's addicting. It's absolutely addicting. And that's why I stay on there. And, whether it's beauty influencers, mukbangers, celebrity gossip vloggers, swirling divestors and play level up scammers, pan-Africanist. Speaking of which, did y'all know Umar Johnson was reportedly homeless? Anyway, so whether it's spiritual witchy channels or folks from what's known as the beef sector, folks stay with the drama. And I think the only sectors that are kind of relatively drama free or that has minimal fuck shit are like the social commentary vloggers and the kind of like the mythology. That was a kind of a, got me tongue tied a little bit, but the mythology horror channels, I love those. I watch those a lot. I love historical information about mythological figures and urban legend figures and horror figures. I love learning where all that story comes from. So I watch a lot of those kinds of YouTube channels. So yeah, I stay posted up down to the YouTube. And child, apparently one of the trending hot topics, well, at least on YouTube, apparently cisgender hetero women, no, well, not just hetero, I'll just say cisgender women are up in arms about the LGBTQ folks using the term fish. Yes, and a lot of the ire seems to be directed at social media personality and entertainer, trans entertainer T.S. Madison, who's in the public eye, right? And so, honestly, oh boy, like people can feel how they want to feel about the issues. I know people do feel away because there's like 11D video. People have made 11D videos about the issue, talking about fish, the term fish. And, people have the right to feel how they want to feel. And honestly, just because someone is LGBTQ, part of the LGBTQ community or is trans, it doesn't mean they're above reproach and not capable of being problematic. So that's not what I'm saying, but this is just my view on the situation, and to me, I just think the outrage is ridiculous. I think it's a non-issue. First and foremost, anytime, from what I've seen and have witnessed and experienced, anytime folks from the LGBTQ community, namely, I'll say, gay men and trans women of color, have used that damn word fish, um, aren't they talking to and among each other? They aren't talking to cis women. I've only ever heard to them refer to one another as fish. They're not talking to us. Damn. And then when they are using the term fish, they're usually saying it to one another as a compliment, from my understanding. I've only ever heard them talking amongst one another, calling one another fish, a lingo that they're using within to one another in their own community. you know and listen, I get that it seems to constantly be open season on cis black women, and I get the whole misogynoir thing, and folks from all walks of life, oppressed and not oppressed, they seem to think they have free reign to come for black women, um with impunity. However, I think some cis women, some of the cis women who are so up in arms over a term that the LGBTQ community of color use amongst each other. I just think they want to be outraged over some shit because they don't like, or they don't have any empathy or understanding for, or they don't feel the need to stand in solidarity with trans women. Period. That's how I feel. I think that's where you just want to be angry because you don't like trans women. You don't feel any sense of solidarity with trans women. And okay, that's your right. You can feel how you want to feel, but you're trying to create an issue out of a non-fucking issue when nobody is even talking to you. Nobody's calling you fish. Nobody's talking to you. And I just feel like they're partaking in shits and giggles amongst each other in their community. Just let me stress that again. So, and it's ridiculous, the outrage I've been hearing in all these videos about, oh, you're calling women fish and that's derogatory. They're not talking to you. I've only ever heard them speaking, using that lingo amongst one another in their community. And and I just feel like, imagine if some of us exerted this much energy unpacking, and and some of y'all exerted this much energy. I'm saying y'all because I'm always a work in project. I'm always a work in progress, but I've unpacked a lot of bullshit over the years. But imagine if some cis women, I just feel like, imagine if some of y'all exerted this much energy unpacking and kind of disavowing yourselves of the misogyny many of y'all internalize and happily uphold to placate and make excuses for toxic masculinity. And the egos of some of the emotionally abusive cis hetero men y'all love to uphold, and that mean you no good. Imagine if you all took that energy to deal with that head on. And I just feel like, let them use that word amongst each other the way they see fit, because they aren't talking to us. And that's my feeling on the term fish. Leave them, just stop. It's a non-issue. Nobody's calling women fish. Nobody's telling you, you're dipping your nose in the Kool-Aid and you don't know the flavor. You're kind of dipping your nose in other people's business when nobody is even talking to you. Anyway, on that note, Thank you for listening to the Coffee Rhetoric podcast. If you like what you've heard, be sure to read some of my work at www.coffeerhetoric.com. Keep in mind that you can now access the Coffee Rhetoric podcast on Anchor, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and Breaker, and every other place that hosts podcasting platforms. Now, don't be fishy. Share this episode with your loved ones, your hated ones, your side piece. Discuss it, share, and help me conquer the world. And vote. Go out and vote. Until next time.